Welcome to the Girl Out of Order podcast. You are joining us at the perfect time because we are delving into all things worthiness in the month of March. In Girl Out of Order, it is You Matter March. That's right. I love alliteration. It gets a little annoying. Sometimes you stretch it just a little bit, but that's okay because that's who I am and that's what works for this brain. So, in the month of March, we are truly delving deeply into the topic of worthiness. And I've been inspired by the one and only, the incredible Jamie Kern-Lima. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that I'm holding up her gorgeous book entitled Worthy. If you're not watching this on YouTube, why not? Why haven't you subscribed to the YouTube channel? Let's grow this community. But if you're not watching it on YouTube, that's okay, because in the show notes, I'll be linking to Jamie Kern-Lima's book called Worthy. It is literally taking the world by storm. It is at the top of the New York Times bestseller list, and it should be, because Jamie Kern-Lima is taking this message of worthiness worldwide, because there is an epidemic in this world of girls and women who just at their core do not feel worthy. It can be, I feel unworthy of love. I can feel unworthy of protection. I feel unworthy of success. But it all comes down to the concept of self-worth, because you are, a human being and you have innate self-worth. You are worthy, sisters, at your core. And we're having an amazing month so far. It's halfway through. And you might notice if you're on YouTube that my background's a little bit different. That's because I am recording this podcast from my hotel room in Indianapolis, Indiana, because I am here to celebrate and cheer on my youngest daughter, Sophie, at her volleyball tournament. But girl got to record her podcast, so that's where I'm at. And you might notice in my socials, I'm gonna post some background so you can see just how much it takes to run a podcast. I literally moved a table into the middle of the room, shut the shades, moved the lamp, kind of made my own little setup because my message is just that important to me. I know that there are so many women out there in the world going through their lives like zombies. Is that you, sister? Are you going through the motions, showing up as less than you know you are? Are you dimming your beautiful light so that others can shine? Sisters, are you caging yourself and your dreams so that others can fly? Because that is epidemic in female human beings. In Jamie's book, she quotes a statistic. That's a really hard word to say. It's probably another reason why I never took the class. But she quotes a statistic that says over 80% of girls and women do not feel worthy. And the percentage is not that much lower for women who are CEOs and executives, extremely successful women that on the outside look, they got it all put together. But those women have confused self-confidence with self-worth. And so we are spending a lot of time on this topic. Originally, it was going to be just for the month of March. And I toyed around with whether or not I should move it into the month of April. Well, that's a done freaking deal because there's just too much to delve into. And there's people I want to bring onto this podcast to speak about the topic of worthiness. So we're carrying this all the way through to the end of April. And then we'll jump into motherhood in May and have a lot of fun with that. So if you're just tuning in to these episodes on worthiness, go back to listen to them. But don't leave for today, because today is an incredibly important topic. And before I jump in, I am on a mission to create as big a tribe of girls out of order in this world that I can possibly create. Why am I doing that? Am I doing that for myself? Am I doing that to build me up? Hell no. If you've been with me for any length of time, you know that I am all about creating communities of women that build one another up, tribes of girls out of order who truly accept themselves for who they are, for how they have been designed and helping them unleash their full potential in this world. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but this world is hurting. And it is hurting for authentic, confident women filled with self-worth who are looking to make this world a better place. And so I need your help in order to build this podcast, in order to get this message out. I need your help. Give us a 5-star review. Write us a written review on any platform. I don't care if it's Spotify, Apple, Buzzsprout, wherever you listen to this podcast. You will be doing not only us a huge favor, but you will be doing your sisters a huge favor, because the more reviews we get, the bigger our message gets highlighted, and then we can build up our community. And if you haven't joined the Girl Out of Order Facebook community, get on over there. What are you waiting for? We have so many exciting things happening in there. And our group, I said last time, doubled in the month of February. And we want to keep this group growing. We want so badly to have as many women that are like-minded and like-hearted in this group as possible, so that we can start making a difference in this world. It does take a village. It really does. Not to raise children, although you know that too. We'll talk about that in May. But it takes a village of women to rise up and change this beautiful world for the better. And that's what we're doing here. So help us out and get into that Facebook community. And I usually say this phrase at the end of this little blurb: we need what only you can give. And it's a perfect time for me to say that, because that's actually the title of this podcast episode. Sisters, the world needs what only you can give. Let me say that again a little bit slower. Our world, your world, needs what only you can give. I feel so compelled to do this podcast on this episode at this moment in time for so many reasons. There's a reason why I'm literally in a hotel room where I drag my microphone with me and move the tables over, because I need you to hear this message, sisters. I need you to get this in your bones, and I need you to share it with other women. This message has been the single greatest message that has transformed my freaking life in the last 3 years. Because I have spent so much of my life dimming my light, shrinking back, contorting myself, morphing my beautiful personality to fit a mold I was never designed to fit. And I cheated the world. And I cheated my daughters. And I cheated my community, because I showed up as somebody I was never designed to be. And so I feel so passionate. Can you hear it in my voice? And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm gesticulating even more than I normally do, because I'm on fire for this message. Jamie Kern-Lima has said it this way in her book, Worthy. I'm going to say it 100 times until you get it in your bones, that this topic is critical to changing your journey of worthiness. And I want you on this journey with me. I am in the trenches with you, sisters. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later in the episode, about even as I'm getting ready to do my own first speaking experience, my first speaking opportunity. I am battling to try to fit into a mold. And I made a decision. I wasn't designed to fit in it. And I said no, but it still dogs me to this day. So one of Jamie Kern-Lima's, I'm just going to call her Jamie from now on because it's just a mouthful. One of Jamie's most transformative phrases that she used for herself, and it propelled her own healing, and it propelled her to create her cosmetic company, It Cosmetics, that obviously took the world by storm and made her a billionaire, was, "You're not crazy. You're just first." And I'm going to be really honest. I've heard Jamie speak a number of times, and I admire her deeply. But when she'd say that phrase, I would just kind of dismiss it. Because in my mind, what I heard is you're not crazy, you're just first in terms of the kind of makeup she was creating for women who had skin challenges. And so I just put that message in a box. And I thought, okay, I've heard that message, but I'm not creating a company that has this new innovative approach that sounds great, inspirational. Congrats, clap, clap, clap. Happy for you. Doesn't apply to me. And then I read her chapter in Worthy called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. And I went, oh my goodness, I missed it completely. And I was thinking, oh gosh, you want to know why I missed it? Because sisters, I wasn't ready to really receive it. I wasn't ready to hear it. And I'm ready now. And I'm fired the freak up to teach it, to preach it, to inspire you with it, and to light a fire under your ass with it. So buckle up because we're diving in to You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. And in Christine's terms, because I'm not trying to rip off Jamie's message, although, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel because she's freaking brilliant. But our message is the world needs what only you can provide. That means you, Sarah. That means you, Carrie. That means you, Allie. That means you, Sue. That means you, Hazel. I don't care what your name is. Insert name here. The world needs what only Christine Denise Gale can provide. It applies to all of us. And before I go any further, I do have some pretty powerful EmpoWORDs for this week. And I know I've been kind of forgetting to do them in the episodes, trying to get a little bit more consistent. So lots of grace for Christine. She's been doing a few things in 2024. But I love these EmpoWORDs, and they're from one of my heroes. I grew up on this woman's music, and I grew up fascinated with the size of her bosom. I'm not going to lie. Okay. As a little girl, I was like, how is that possible? And obviously, you all know I'm talking about Dolly Parton. How terrible that that's what I remember. But what I really remembered was the fact that this woman lives authentically and congruently with who she freaking is and doesn't give a damn what other people's opinions are. So our EmpoWORDs today come from the amazing, incredible Dolly freaking Parton. That's probably her middle name. Dolly Parton. If you're comfortable with yourself and know yourself, you're going to shine and radiate, and other people are going to be drawn to you. Dolly Parton. Now, if those aren't some EmpoWORDs for this episode, I don't know what are. But a really important phrase I want to highlight. It's not just that you're comfortable with yourself, sisters, but that you know yourself. At Girl Out of Order, when I say in my tagline, when not fitting in is the perfect fit, I don't mean you just decide to be different and screw everybody else. There's a part to this that's really revolves around getting to know yourself intimately. And then what Dolly says here is you're going to shine and radiate. People are going to see the difference in you. They're going to know there's something different about you because you are living in alignment. And other people are going to be drawn to you. Now, does this mean you're out there to collect fans and likes and follows and all that? No, 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 no. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about connection. Deep, beautiful, long-lasting connection. That's the kind of people you want to draw to you. Not super fans and, people that are obsessed with your style and all that. That's all great and fine and helps build businesses. And I don't diminish that, but that's not what I'm talking about here. When I'm telling you that the world needs what only you can give, I am talking about you showing up in total alignment with who you are on the inside. Because then the outside radiates that self-worth that comes from loving who you truly are. So from an early age, sisters, and I don't know if you can relate. I wish I was talking to an audience. So raise your hand if you can relate. I was told either outright or through subtle messages, sometimes not so subtle, Christine, you're just too much. You're too loud. You're too bold. You're too brash. Sit down, shut up, be quiet, stop talking. You're too bossy. That was the one I got a lot. And I still have a friend who calls me bossy, and she's not wrong. I mean, she's not wrong. But she says it jokingly and to sometimes snap me out of my bullshit when I'm not listening and asking for permission before I offer my feedback. But when I was a little girl, it was the 1970s. I was born in 1971, and little girls were not supposed to talk and be loud and have opinions. And so I annoyed everybody. But like Jamie Kern Lima, I had big dreams. I was going to do great things. What the hell is everybody's problem? I got stuff to do. And what I have realized on this personal development journey is that I was an entrepreneur from a really little age, and I had it squelched out of me so fast that I stopped believing that I was meant to start businesses. See, my mom had a shop in her house. And what does that mean? My mom had a beauty shop in our house. We lived on a farm, and my mom did all the farm ladies' hairs. You know, the big beehives? Yeah, that shit's real. And I've seen it happen. It's crazy. These women would come once a week, and I never fully understood why it was only once a week, because I didn't understand the whole concept of you only wash your hair once a week. But apparently that was a big deal even back in the 1970s. So these women would pour into our house on Saturday mornings, and they would load themselves up into the beauty shop in our home. Yes, we had the sink, you know, the chair that goes up and down. We had all of that. I thought that was totally normal. I had no idea how unusual that was. But my mom was a beautician. And so the ladies would come every Saturday, and they'd fill this beauty shop, and I would bring them coffee. I would warm up old coffee. Dude, I had no idea how gross that probably was, but they were very, very nice about it. And they took their coffee with cream and sugar. But the entrepreneur in me, I would go to the end of the driveway, and I would pick these weeds that like had these little fans on them, the little iridescent fans, and I would wrap string around sticks, and I would make brooms, and I would try to sell them to the ladies. I was so proud of myself. And I would go in there and I would try to sell them for a quarter or a nickel or a dime or anything, until one day when my mom told me that it was just annoying and that the women didn't want to buy what I was selling. And then I just needed to stop. I just needed to stop being such a bother. And I know my mom didn't mean to hurt me. And I know these ladies were so well-meaning, but they weren't welcoming the loud, bold, brash girl with big ideas. And so I learned from a very early age not to be so annoying. And I wanted my dad's attention. There's another thing I used to do. He'd come home, he'd sit in his chair, he'd put his newspaper up, and I'd tap, tap, tap daddy's newspaper until he yelled at me and told me to stop being such a bother. I was so annoying. All I wanted to do was talk and listen and hear and be paid attention to. And I would just shrink down. And I ran away. And so I learned from a very early age that it was annoying to be me. And I learned from a very early age to try to fit in so I could be acceptable and therefore accepted. Running was the only thing in my entire life where I refused to accept the limitations on my abilities, on my dreams, and I went for it. And I got the Big Ten scholarship, and I won the state championships, and I did great things. But that, sisters, I now know was self-confidence. Because as I was doing all of these great things, and as I was living a life where I was accomplishing things, I was getting straight A's, I was first here in the band, like I said, winning the state championships, achieving my dreams. I hated who I was inside because I was so lacking in self-worth. I used all of those achievements, sisters, to wallpaper over the moldy wall, the wall with holes, the pain and the shame of who I was, because I didn't love who I was. I didn't feel worthy. And so I threw myself into accomplishments to try to feel some semblance of okayness. You see, when you're on a self-worth journey, when you're trying to figure out who you are, a lot of times we will swing a pendulum from playing super duper small so we don't upset anybody to all the way over here where we throw ourselves into all the accomplishments so that we can feel okay in our skin. But none of that really truly addresses the core worthiness of who we are as a person. It didn't change for me when running no longer became available to me as the thing that made me feel okay and made me feel worthy. So I threw myself into faith. I threw myself into the faith community, became part of a very conservative Christian evangelical denomination. And it was so beautiful in so many ways. Graduated from law school. And because I was on this faith journey, I really didn't feel like practicing law was really going to fit with this faith community, because so many women in this faith community, we did jobs until we could start having babies. And then we became stay-at-home moms. And I thought, aha, I have finally found a place where I can fit. I can become a stay-at-home mom, because I didn't have that after my mom went back to work and got her degree. And so I thought, that's where it's at. I found the love of my life. We're going to get married. I'm going to work until I can have a family. And I want you to hear me. There is absolutely zero judgment in me, zero judgment in me for stay-at-home moms or women of faith or women who feel congruent with the conservative evangelical lifestyle. I have so much love and reverence and respect and admiration for women for whom that is congruent. I'm here to say that the world needs what only you can provide, because I want you to find out the true, authentic you. And what a hypocrite I would be if there's anything you heard in what I'm saying that says that if a woman feels congruent in that lifestyle, it's somehow wrong, bad, or unacceptable, or less than. There's nothing in me or in my words that should convey anything like that. What I'm here to say is that I want to see a world filled with women who feel congruent and aligned as they are. That is one of my biggest complaints about the quote unquote women's movement nowadays. Like, we want real women. No, you don't. You want women that fit a mold, that votes a certain way, thinks a certain way, believes a certain way, loves a certain way. And any woman who is outside of that, oftentimes conservative, evangelical Christian women, they aren't real women. I'm calling bullshit on that as much as I'm calling bullshit on Christian evangelical women judging women who believe differently than them. There has to be a world in which all women get to decide for themselves what is right, true, beautiful, aligned, and fulfilling. And that's what I know I can uniquely speak to, because I've lived actually in both extremes. Back to the Christian evangelical conservative church part of my life. I wanted so badly to find a place where I belonged that I started living a life that I tried to make myself fit into. And it started when I decided to take a job at Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. What a beautiful place, filled with beautiful people. that I now know were never my people. When I interviewed at Moody Bible Institute, it was a few weeks, maybe a few months after they stopped requiring women to wear dresses to be students or employees there. Even just saying that out loud, I'm just like, what? It was the year 1997 or 8? Like, are you kidding me? But that's Moody Bible Institute. I give them props because they're congruent with what their beliefs are. I'm not going to lie. They're congruent. But when I think about me there, I just go, how did I ever feel like that fit with who I was? You see, I had swung the pendulum so far from the women's studies major, radical feminist in college. I had swung it all the way over to the other side where I was like, yep, I'm going to be this conservative Christian evangelical woman. If it means I wear dresses, so be it. If I means I speak less, so be it. I just wanted to belong. And I will tell you, the 3 years I worked at Moody Bible Institute were 3 of the best years of my life because those people loved me. Many of them, not all of them, because you can only squeeze yourself down so much before you're like one of those little balloons where you squeeze it and then it goes bloop, it pops out somewhere else, and then it goes bloop, pops somewhere else. You can't deny your true essence for very long before people pick up on the fact that that's not authentically who you are. And there were a lot of people there, I'm sure, could figure that out because I can only shrink down my strong, powerful, beautiful personality so long. But it really was a good 3 years. And then we had our babies. And I became a stay-at-home mom, and we planted a church in Crystal Lake. And it was really beautiful for a lot of years. But as you're going along through life, there are signposts along the way that are trying to get your attention. Christine, this isn't truly you. The men that would approach my husband and tell him, I just need to let you know that we see that you are not in a Christian marriage, that you are not the head of your home, and your wife is not a submissive wife. And I would try to push it away. My husband would stand up for me, but in there, those were signposts that I just didn't fit the mold. And then there was the time when my accountability partner, who I should have been able to fully trust because I would tell everything to, shredded my life in a 4-page single space typed letter, shredded every area of my life, telling me how I didn't match up with scripture. I believe she said I wasn't living a life worthy of the cross of Christ. I believe those were her exact words. And so here I am, part of this Christian evangelical community, and I still don't fucking fit. And there were glaring signs everywhere. I know I annoyed these women when they saw me coming because I'm still me. You can't divorce yourself from yourself, sisters. You cannot run and hide from who you are and how you were created to be. And the sooner you embrace your uniqueness, the sooner you welcome in how you were designed to show up in this world, the sooner you can start making the authentic, beautiful, incredible impact you were uniquely designed to make. Because the world needs what only you can give, Martha. The world needs what only you can give, Sharon. The world doesn't want a second-rate version of you. The world wants, needs, craves, is looking for the authentic Susan. Because that Susan is going to reach people that Sharon can't. That Susan is going to impact worlds in radically beautiful ways when she's living in full alignment with who she is. That Trisha never will. It doesn't make Trisha less. It just makes Trisha different. I'm going to read this quote from Jamie's book that says it so much better than I ever could. It talks about when she talks about how unique you are, your one of a kind self. She says, because there is only one of you in the entire universe, just one person in existence with your thoughts, with your life experience, with your DNA, with your fingerprints, with your unique heartbeat. Yep, we actually each have a unique heartbeat. And even with your individual tongue print. How gross is that? But yep, we each have a unique tongue print. Then every thought, decision, and action you choose for the rest of your life is coming from someone who is first. Sisters, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not less than. You're not unacceptable. You're just the first you, the only you. And the world needs what only you can provide. It took me a really long time to divorce myself from that faith community to a degree that allowed me to fully flourish. When you are in a situation or a relationship or a community where you feel like you have been like that Chinese acrobat shoved into a box and you're grotesquely like twisting your limbs and your insides are screaming out saying, let me out. You have to listen. Sisters, trust your gut. I've told my daughter since they were tiny to listen to your gut. When your stomach is screaming something's wrong, your brain needs to listen and your feet need to move out of that situation and into a community. And if it means that you have to be alone for a while, be alone. Because sometimes when you're striking out on your own and you're breaking generational curses and you're breaking generational mistakes, it can feel lonely. It can feel isolating. But it's so much less lonely than living in a community where you are not fully accepted for who you are, where people are waiting around for you to finally figure it out, change, shift, mold, and shape the hell up. Because that's the message I got for, I would say, almost 2 decades. That's the message I got when my husband was unfaithful and the pastor called me the very next day and said, I need to ask your forgiveness, Christine, because we've noticed for a really long time that you're an unsubmissive wife and we should have come to you sooner as leadership. And maybe that wouldn't have happened. You don't need those glaring kind of conversations, sisters, to happen before you walk the hell out that door and choose to live alone as long as it takes for you to find your people. Don't wait for that. Trust your gut in ways I didn't for years. Because this beautiful world is waiting for you to show up. Whether you're like my friend Pamela, who raises llamas and loves the outdoors and is fully accepting of her beautiful self, knows she doesn't want to birth children, but loves children and is making a difference in this world. And she lights up every Zoom room I've ever been in because she's living in alignment with who she is. What I want you to do is start looking around for those people you know are living fully committed to who they are, and study them. Start with me, sisters, because I stopped years ago trying to conform myself to other people's expectations. I stopped years ago trying to be something I was never designed to be. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not growing and changing and learning and transforming, because you're either growing or you're dying, and I'm not dying. So I know I have things to learn. I know I have, edges to maybe chisel a little bit, not to make myself smaller, but to make myself brighter. but I am living fully in alignment with who Christine Gale is. I know who I am. I know what my values are, and I know what values I'm moving away from. Find those people and make them part of your life, whether it be somebody you follow on social media or somebody you truly get in your tribe. Because now that I know who I am drawing people into my life. God, it just makes me so grateful, who are more of what I want to become. So when you start living fully authentically and start giving this world your beautiful self, when you start showing up, not crazy, but first, one of a kind you will start to attract the kind of people that you want, need, and deserve in your tribe. Yeah, it's true. And it might be a little bit lonely for a time, but trust me, you would rather be lonely for a time while you figure your stuff out and start building a tribe that you're worthy of, or that, excuse me, let me say that differently. When you start building a tribe that's worthy of you, than to be in a place and around people that take you down, that demand you shrink, that cage your passions, and that don't try to understand and fan the flames of your mission. I think I'd mentioned this previously, but I met a friend recently who literally had to end a relationship with 8 of her friends. Can you even imagine how hard that was? How big of a decision that was? And how much courage it took to walk away from the familiar, because the familiar no longer fanned the flames of her future. And I honored that. And I held space for her if she wants to talk about how hard that is. But courage is being afraid and doing it anyway because it's right and it's good and it leads you to where you know you are called to go. So, sisters, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not off base. You're not a fool. You're not too much. You're just the first and the one and only you. And this hurting world needs mass quantities of women who are aligned and congruent and showing up authentically. Because when we show up in our authenticity, real, true, lasting connection naturally occurs. I promise you, because I am living this truth out today. So when I moved out of that faith community, friends fell away and it was painful. And there were so many times I wanted to run back to that because it's so much easier. Maybe what if I just, no more. I'm just going to shrink down, pull back, stop being so opinionated. No, I'm going to be who I've been designed to be. I'm going to use wisdom. I'm going to show grace. I'm not going to show up arrogant or prideful. I'm not going to show up seeking significance. I'm going to show up in love, seeking connection, growing, and looking to contribute, because I have come to believe fully that I'm not crazy, that I am not broken, that I am not my past mistakes. I am learning to embrace my unique self. And I'm fanning the flames of what makes me who I am. And I started off with ending friendships that no longer served me and appreciated me for who I was. Friendships that really, in order to have them, I had to deny parts of myself. I ended them. And I started picking out and growing and seeking friendships with individual women that were congruent with where I was going. that were aligned with my values and that saw the value in me. And then eventually I started to find tribes like Unleash Her Power Within. Come join us. My gosh, if you're looking for a tribe of women who are growing and going in the direction of contribution and building up other women and seeking to celebrate women's successes, start with Unleash Her Power Within. We start in September. Keep an eye out. Join us. Those women have transformed my life because it is the first time in my entire life where I felt seen and valued and loved and cherished and safe and celebrated. Yes, I'm lifting up a lot of fingers because these are things I craved from a tiny little girl with big dreams who just wanted to sell little trinkets to the women in the beauty shop and was told I was too much and to sit down and be quiet and not be such a bother. Now I'm part of a tribe of women who are like, yes, Christine, go reach your dreams. We are cheering you on. And when I did my first ever speaking opportunity, when I had that this last weekend at Own Your Worth, the Own Your Worth experience with Lauren LaHave, it'll be in the show notes, by the way. When I spoke, I had so many of the women from Unleash Her Power Within that were online cheering me on. And there were women in the physical audience from that community saying, yes, girl, get it. Power move of power moves. And I felt so supported. That has been built over time. It didn't just happen. But it wouldn't have happened if I didn't choose to show up as my authentic self. And I want that so much for you because 2 millimeter shifts in how you show up add up over time. Start today saying no freaking more. Will I shrink who I am so that others feel comfortable? It ends today, sisters, because the world needs what only you can provide. Stop cheating us. Stop taking and hiding what we are looking for, which is you, beautiful, precious you. Because I want that for you, what I have now through Unleash Her Power Within and the True Legacy Collective that Lauren LaHave has created. As I got on that stage, I took that stage in the front freaking row. It was filled with these beautiful women that I am now a part of, cheering me on, clapping, raising their hearts, and wanting nothing more than for me to succeed. And they'll be there in the front row, celebrating the uniqueness of Christine Gale. Because I made a decision several years ago that I would be a girl out of order, that I would embrace that not fitting in is the perfect fit for me, and that I would no longer be a woman who denies a single part of my beautiful self in the quest to fit in. And I want that for you. The world needs you, my beautiful sisters. Will you decide today to stop denying any part of your beautiful self, to seek acceptance, to be acceptable? It's a fool's errand, and it only leads you down a path of disconnection and inauthenticity. I love you. I believe in you. I want the world for you. And the world wants you. We're in this together. I want you to continue to fully live as a girl out of order. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast. The world needs what only you can give. Sisters, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not faulty. You are the first, the one of a kind, the only you. I'm so excited that you are part of this amazing journey. Please join our Facebook community. Please give us a review. Please give us a shout out on social media. Let's build up an army of girls out of order, because we, frankly, could take over this world, and the world is hurting and it needs what only you can give. It starts with one and it builds from there. I will see you next time on Girl Out of Order.